Did you know that you can shape your destiny in two different ways? For most of us, prayer is just a habit, maybe even a refuge for hard times. But what if prayer carries a power far greater than you ever imagined? What if what you call destiny can actually bend and shift through the breath of your dua? Listen carefully, because by the end of this video, I'll share a secret with you, one that will change the way you think about prayer forever. So this time, open your heart. Through Ibn Arabi's eyes, prayer isn't just a request. It's a journey inward, and at the same time, a call that echoes toward infinity. According to Ibn Arabi, prayer isn't merely the servant reaching for God. It's also God manifesting himself through the servant. So while you think you're calling upon him, in truth, it is he who is calling you back to himself. This single idea changes the entire understanding of destiny. Imagine this: a mother raising her hands to the sky, her child sick, tears falling silently down her face. She doesn't speak with her tongue but with her heart. That moment, that trembling, is not just a plea. It's a vibration, a quake of existence itself. And right there, within the folds of destiny, a new path opens. In Sufi understanding, destiny isn't a frozen decree, it's a framework. And prayer is like water flowing within that frame. It moves, finds direction, carves new channels. Sometimes it leaps over stones, sometimes it creates new rivers through the soil, but it's always in motion. And here's the part most people miss. For a prayer to be answered, it doesn't always need a miraculous outcome. Sometimes the prayer changes you. And when you change, your world changes with you. The outer world doesn't shift, the inner one does. And that inner transformation ripples outward, reshaping the chain of destiny itself. Take this example. A man loses his job, staring at the ground in despair, and from deep within a whisper rises, "My Lord, open my path." That's not just a sentence, it's a moment of surrender. And right there, unseen threads begin to move. Maybe nothing changes that day, but weeks later, an opportunity appears, and when he looks back, he realizes, that prayer prepared me. Because as Ibn Arabi says, the one who prays is already being drawn into a destiny that has been accepted. In other words, prayer doesn't determine destiny. Destiny gives birth to prayer. But that doesn't mean destiny is fixed. On the contrary, within destiny lie infinite possibilities. And prayer is the only conscious act that can touch those possibilities. This isn't just mystical poetry. Psychologically, prayer clears the mind, strengthens intention, and deepens focus. And when a person begins to walk toward their intention, the universe walks with them. Have you ever wondered, what if destiny isn't simply what happens to you, but what unfolds through your prayers? This is just the beginning. Because as the video continues, you'll see how prayer and destiny intertwine more deeply than you ever imagined. And by the end, I'll share a secret so profound that you'll never pray the same way again. Some say, "I prayed, but nothing happened." But tell me, by what measure did nothing happen? You simply didn't see the result. Maybe that prayer protected you from unseen harm. Maybe it delayed something until the moment you were ready. Because every prayer, heard or silent, moves through the unseen and gently, quietly, reshapes what we call fate. Did you know that sometimes your prayer is accepted? Not to change your world, but to change you? In Sufism, being answered doesn't always mean that your wish is fulfilled. Sometimes the acceptance of a prayer is when that desire is gently removed from your heart. And that, my brother, is the greatest mercy. Because not every longing is meant to mature you. Sometimes what you must let go of is also part of your destiny. Ibn Arabi says, "What you think is acceptance may in fact be rejection, and what you think is rejection may in truth be acceptance. For your Lord's decree does not follow your desire, but your reality." Do you know what that means? You may beg for something, but if it would take you away from your essence, it will not be given to you. because your prayer is meant to draw you closer to God, not to distance you from Him. That's where intention comes in. The soul of prayer is intention, and intention is not the words of your lips. It is the direction of your heart. When you truly surrender from within, your prayer gains a different vibration. At that moment, it leaves an imprint on the fabric of destiny, because then you are no longer the one who prays. You have become the prayer itself. Imagine a man who wakes before dawn every day, raising his hands in the dark when no one is watching. He has carried the same wish for years. Maybe it never came true, but if you saw the peace on his face, you would say his prayer has been answered, because his prayer transformed him. The Sufi masters say, prayer is the hand that knocks upon the door of destiny. The door may not open at once, but with time, that hand becomes the door itself. You knock so much that one day you become the opening. You are no longer the one who asks. You become the essence of what you once asked for. And here lies another secret. Some prayers seem to disappoint you. It feels like your deepest cry never reached the heavens. But know this, God never stays silent. Every prayer is answered, sometimes with yes, sometimes with not yet, and sometimes with I have something better. Ibn Arabi explains it beautifully. Each prayer activates existence at a specific point in time, but that time may not be the moment you call now. If you expect an instant response, you are still believing that time moves in a straight line. But in truth, time is layered, and every prayer echoes in its own dimension. Think of a child crying, "Father." The father may not hear immediately, but the sound echoes, and soon he turns to follow that voice. Your prayer is just like that. It vibrates through the walls of the universe, and when its appointed moment arrives, it returns as an answer. That's why prayer is never a rush. It's an art, crafted with patience, surrender, and trust. Because when you plant a seed in the soil of the unseen, it takes time to bloom. And that bloom, when it appears, was written for you long before you ever raised your hands. And on that journey, one of the greatest traps is doubt. Does He really hear me? Does this even matter? These questions come. Let them come. But answer them with prayer itself. Whisper an Amin to every doubt, because every Amin is not just a yes to God. It's a yes to yourself, to your life, to your destiny. And never forget, sometimes a single prayer can change an entire lifetime. But more importantly, it changes the heart that carries that lifetime. Pause for a moment. How many times have you prayed and nothing seemed to happen? And then a small voice inside you whispered, "I don't even know how to pray." That's exactly where Ibn Arabi's secret comes in. Prayer, he says, is not just asking, it's conscious turning. You think you are the one who prays, but in truth prayer doesn't come from you. It comes through you. You do not create the prayer chooses you. You are merely the vessel, the frequency, the echo point through which the divine breath flows. And when you see it this way, every person who prays becomes a messenger, a voice through which the universe itself speaks. But to speak that language, you must understand its soul. Surrender. It means you no longer control the outcome. You only turn toward Him. Like a ship, you set your sails, but you cannot command the wind. You lift the sail in trust, and the rest belongs to the most merciful. That's why prayer isn't about wishing, it's about awakening. It's the moment you accept your place in creation, and in that acceptance, you stop being the one who asks and become the one who listens. Imagine a woman who has prayed for years to have a child. The doctors say there's no hope. Every night she weeps, whispering, "My Lord, grant me a child." But one night she realizes the greatest gift of her prayer wasn't the child she asked for, but the closeness she found in those quiet, sacred nights. And she says, "Perhaps I never became a mother, but in His presence, I became a child." That's when the prayer was truly accepted, because it transformed her. And here lies a subtler secret. Prayer isn't always born from peace. Ibn Arabi says that the truest prayers often rise from anger, despair, or exhaustion. Because in those moments, the heart has no filters. You are unmasked. And in that raw honesty, God meets you as you are, not as you pretend to be. So don't wonder how you should appear when you pray. Come as you feel. If you're angry, say it. If you're tired, fall silent. Because sometimes silence is the loudest prayer, and a single tear can speak more than 1,000 words. Remember, prayer is not always speaking. Sometimes it's simply listening. It is to hear the vibration that rises from the deepest part of your soul. And in that silence, there is no absence of response, only a sacred calling. Ibn Arabi summarizes it beautifully. Prayer does not ascend through the words you know, but through the state your heart reveals to your Lord. Your state, your emotional and spiritual condition, is what gives the prayer its worth. The more sincere that state, the more real the prayer becomes. In the end, every prayer is a journey. But sometimes, after you pray, it's not the path that changes, it's you. You begin to walk differently, and somewhere along that walk, you realize the truth. The answer was never separate from the prayer. The prayer itself was the answer. Inside every human being, there are two voices. One always says, "Want more." The other is quiet, yet profound. You are already enough. And prayer, true prayer, is when your heart begins to listen to that second voice. According to Ibn Arabi, prayer isn't just a request. It's the soul's way of remembering itself. When you pray, you're not really asking for something outside yourself. You're returning home. You begin to hear the echo of the divine word within you. And at that point, prayer stops being a list of needs. It becomes a state of presence. Let's make it simple with an example. Imagine a man whose business has failed, buried in debt, peace gone from his home. Every night he prays until dawn. "My Lord, save me." Years pass. Nothing changes. Until one night, he realizes something. All this time he hadn't been praying for help, he had been complaining. And that night, he whispers differently. "My Lord, I don't know why I face what I face, but I accept it. Just protect my heart." And that's when the prayer is truly accepted. Because at that moment, he stops fighting fate and starts surrendering to it. And surrender is the most powerful form of prayer. That's why Ibn Arabi says, "The true prayer is not the one made for acceptance, but the one made for union." Do not pray just to gain something, pray to draw near. Because if prayer is a door, then the greatest gift is not the door itself, but what lies beyond it, peace. And here lies a very subtle line. When you pray, what are you truly seeking? Wealth, comfort, happiness, or simply Him? This is where the essence of Tawheed, divine unity, enters. It means that all prayers, all directions, all desires eventually flow toward one point: Him alone. Think of a young man. He's failed over and over again in life. One night, in desperation, he falls into prostration and pleads, "My Lord, please give me strength." But the next morning, he still feels weak. Then suddenly he realizes the strength he needed was never in his muscles, it was in his heart. And that's the day you begin to discover your inner strength. Because prayer doesn't transform the outer world, it transforms the world within you. It changes your eyes, your way of seeing, the way you stand before life. And as you change, the world begins to reshape itself around you. Ibn Arabi expresses this mystery perfectly. When you pray, it's not the world outside that moves, it's the truth within that stirs. That's why sometimes, when you pray, nothing seems to happen. But in truth, that's when the most happens. Even in silence, there's a hidden mercy unfolding, a quiet shift that's growing you from within. You see, prayer doesn't race against time. Prayer bends time. And if you're patient enough, that bending point becomes the moment your life suddenly changes. Sometimes you pray, and the answer seems delayed, at least by your measure of time. But Ibn Arabi reminds us, your time is not God's time. You wait. He knows that one line could shatter all the impatience of the modern world. Because today, we want everything instantly, even answers from the divine. We pray and expect to see results right away. And when we don't, we start doubting, either our faith or ourselves. But what if the answer already came, just in a different form, a different place, a different season? Imagine a woman who has prayed for years, "My Lord, grant me a good partner," but no one ever comes. Eventually she says, "Enough, I don't accept this fate." And something inside her breaks. Years later she looks back and realizes her prayers were never wasted. All that time she wasn't waiting for the right man, she was waiting for the right version of herself. And when that maturity arrived, so did the person who matched her soul. But by then, she wasn't seeking love to complete her, she was ready to share it. That's why sometimes prayer doesn't give you what you want. It prepares you for something far greater. According to Ibn Arabi, destiny doesn't flow in straight lines like we imagine. When you pray, even the past can reshape itself, because your prayer ripples through all layers of time, touching what was, what is, and what will be. It's a mystery the rational mind struggles with, but the heart understands instantly. Prayer is not energy, it's alignment. It's setting your center in the direction of the divine. So when you pray, you're not just asking, you're surrendering. And here lies the essence of it all. When what you wanted doesn't come, but instead you find a deeper awareness rising within, that's when your prayer has truly been answered. At the beginning of this video, I promised to share a secret about prayer that could change your life. Here it is. The true power of prayer lies not in changing your fate, but in changing you. When you pray, it's not the world outside that shifts first. It's your frequency, your patience, your perception. And as you shift, the universe reshapes to meet the new you. You might think, I changed my destiny. But in truth, prayer aligned you with your destiny. Prayer doesn't create miracles. It awakens the miracle that was already within you. Because in that moment of prayer, you're not asking for something. You're accepting something. You're saying, I am incomplete, and I seek to be made whole. That's why Ibn Arabi says, the one who prays is himself the answer to the prayer. Your state in that moment is your reply. To put it simply, if you still have the strength to pray, then the answer has already begun its journey toward you. Now I want to ask you something. What was the deepest prayer you've ever made in your life? And when you made it, were you truly ready for it? Or were you simply running from your pain? Share your thoughts below. Your words might open someone else's heart today. And if this message touched something within you, the videos on the side can take this journey even deeper. Each one holds another layer of the secrets of the soul. Perhaps your next step is waiting there. Don't forget to click. And remember, your prayers may seem silent, but their echoes ripple across your destiny for generations to come.